Dr. Mathur?
Yeah, it is visible.
Okay, so uh, again, welcome in this post-lunch session. I'm Dr. Govind Prasad Sahu, Assistant Professor of Mathematics at Pandit Ravi Shankar Shukla University, Raipur. So in this refresher course, as the title is Data Analysis Using the Statistical Methods. So here now we are going to talk about the statistical variables. So what is the statistical variables, how we design them, how we define them, how we use them in our research objective. So that's all we are going to talk about. So already, since this is the second batch, so you have been studying regarding the various aspects of statistics in the data analysis. So here, just within a few minutes, I will revise it. So here, basically, the purpose is to use the statistical techniques, that is the statistics, to describe our findings, draw conclusion from our results, test hypothesis, and to test the relationship among variables and so on. So the few topics are actually all of you will be uh, delivered after in the coming sessions. So basically, when we talk about the statistics, so the first thing which comes in our mind is basically the data. So we are living in the age of data. So basically, what is actually the data? So data is anything that is actually used for gathering informations, and it is also said that in this century that is actually fuel to the economy. So any country which have more control on data, which have rich resources of data, which have the capability to manipulate those data to get the desired result in making policy or anything, so that will be in an advantage stage. So basically here, when we talk data, data may be anything, it may be depending upon the topic of research. So here, when we say that data in statistics, so mainly here we are concerned with some sort of either numerical data or some sort of qualitative data. So basically, as you know, that in a statistics, it can be broadly classified into two types, that is descriptive statistics and inferential statistics. So in descriptive statistics, what we do, so we analyze, summarize those data, and in inferential statistics, actually, when we talk about the data, so the whole collection of data, that is called actually populations. I hope you might be aware regarding this terminology. So in statistics, we have this collection of all the data, what we call population, and out of that is actually the complete picture, the collection of all data. But in reality, many times it is not possible to get all the data for each individual. So for example, the whole population or something like that. In that case, we take one small portion of populations, what we call sample, and we study about this sample. We derive some conclusions, and we try to inference about the whole population. So that is actually what we call inferential statistics. So in inferential statistics, that is a tool that indicate how much confidence we can have when we generalize from a sample to a population. So in statistical techniques, actually we are dealing with samples, and just we are trying to say anything about the population. Okay, so the important question is that when a powerful tool, it is we must use them for a good reason. So when we say about the data, so there are many things which we must have to take care of, and that is the data must be valid data. It must be reliable. So we must have the right type of data. I will discuss in detail what is the meaning of here. I mean, right type of data. And also the statistical tests are other techniques which is available in the statistics subject. So that we have to judicially use the techniques to analyze the data to get the results, so to interpret correctly. So these are the few challenges which we have to keep in mind while using the data or defining the data. So here, the last point, numbers may not lie, but people. One of the more challenges to get actually the valid data. That is, suppose our data is not accurate, or that is actually manipulated, or the collection of data is not in a scientific method, or it does not represent the complete population. So in that situations, the findings from the statistical analysis may be error prone. So that we have to take care about that. Okay, so for this, I would like to just give one famous example. You can say a fun example. Suppose we have a fly, and it has, say, wings. With the help of that, the fly actually that can fly. So suppose one statistician doing an experiment, and suppose actually suppose he just cut one wing of the fly, and just order that go away. So somehow the fly managed to go fly away, and again the second times again he cuts another wing, and then he orders that to go away. Then since the wings of the fly are cut, so that cannot fly. So the conclusion, they derive the conclusion that earlier actually the fly is obeying the order, but now it is not obeying the order. So the fly is deaf. So that type of interpretation is also sometimes may happen in statistics. That is actually we might be getting some sort of wrong type of correlations. So that we have to take care of while designing our experiment. So here in descriptive statistics, in terms of actually data or what is a variable, I'm just coming to the statistical variable. So that can be applied to any measurement. It may be the quantitative or qualitative. What is quantitative or qualitative? As I will, when we say that quantitative, it means numbers. Numbers, actually number in the sense that it can be manipulated with the help of some sort of arithmetic operations. I will explain more about this. Okay, so often what is the limitations of this descriptive statistics is that it offers a summary or a description of the data, but it does not explain or interpret it. So just for example, we can get one, say for example, all the participants of this refresher course are say faculty. So we can get, for example, the average of experience. So with the help of this average experience, teaching experience of this group of participants, so we get one data or one summary of the data. But since it is just a single statistic, so we cannot compare it unless we go for some another group of faculties and also the comparison of their average experience and so on. Then we can derive some conclusion that the first group one is actually they have the more experience kind of things. So that is the descriptive statistics. And in inferential statistics, as I told, so first we study about sample, and with the we derive some parameter statistic of samples. Then we give some inference about the whole population. So that method is basically the inferential statistics. This inferential statistics is very important because, say for example, in the current scenario, the whole world is suffering from the COVID-19 pandemic. So suppose we want to know what proportion of populations are actually that is at risk, or they are suffering from this pandemic disease. So it is not practically possible to test all the populations. So for what we will do that, so there may be some research design or experiment design. So that is what we call a random trial kind of thing. So we can test a particular all the people of particular region or some particular place, and based on the percentage or ratio, we can say something about the whole population, that might be the scenario of the pandemic situation. in the whole population. So that is actually the example of inferential statistics. Especially when we do some parametric or non-parametric statistics. So what do you mean by parametric? What is parameters basically? So there are two terminology. One we call parameter, and another is actually what we call statistic. So statistic. So what is parameter? So any summary regarding the whole population is defined to be the parameter. And for example, say the per capita GDP of this country. So that is actually corresponding to all the whole population of this nation. So that is actually a parameter, life expectancy of the whole population. So that we can get from the census. So that is actually parameter. But if you talk about a particular, for example, say city, say, for example, if we talk about
Dr. Govind, sorry for the interruption. Actually,
okay.
There is some disturbance in your voice. So
Okay,
it will be better if you use the headphone.
Pardon? If I...
And Madam Sulochana, you are interrupting in between the session. So I am requesting, please mute yourself, otherwise I have to remove.
Just 1 minute, let me try this one.
Madam Sulochana, can you hear me? So please mute yourself. Because I have muted 3 times, but you again unmuted, right? So please mute yourself.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, now it is better.
Hello.
Hello.
Dr.
Yeah,
Mathur, am I audible?
It is better.
Hello. Hello.
Hello, I can hear you. There is no problem in the voice.
Hello.
Yeah. Hello.
Hello. I think I'm not audible. Actually, even I cannot. Hello.
Yeah, you are.
Hello. Okay. Fine. What is the voice quality right now?
It is perfect now. Please continue.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so we were talking about the statistics. So if you do some say experiment, hello.
Hello. Yeah, you are audible, sir. There is no problem. Please continue.
Okay. So when we say that there is some noise actually.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes. Madam Khalif, please mute yourself. I am requesting to all the participants, please mute your mic. We are getting some disturbance. Otherwise, I have to remove now. That is the last option. And if the attendance is short, then it will be difficult to issue the certificate for the HRDC office. Yeah, I am unable to mute.
Okay. So should I start?
Yeah, please continue.
So, okay, so we were talking about this statistics. For example, if we do some survey on okay, on some particular city, for example, say Sagar, and we get the result. So that is actually the statistics. So, okay, let us, so the main topic of today's talk is actually that is depicting data, making it comprehensible. So how we should determine which type of data we have to use for some particular objective, research objective. So this type of data, collection of data, that is what we are getting, is basically based on two things, that is the statistical variable and the level of measurement. So this is the one way how we choose the type of data, what is the type of data, and the another is actually the objective of the statistical design, what we want to do. So that objective will decide which type of statistical techniques we are going to use on our data. So these are the two very important aspects. So let us discuss the first one. So what is actually a variable? So when we say a variable, that is actually a characteristic that can vary in value among subjects in a sample array populations. So what does it mean? What does it mean? So for example, as we discussed in this group of participants, if we talk about, say, the experience, so experience in teaching experience in years, so that is one type of characteristics, and that will vary in value. So for one candidate, its value is maybe 2 years. For another candidate, its value may be 4 years. So that is actually the value among subjects. Subjects here is actually the elements of the sample or populations we are going to study. And so that is actually the variable. So how we decide a variable? So that is the value of variable also depends on the questions or the objective of our research. So for example, if I ask one simple question, so that is, do you smoke? So this is a simple question, and the answer is either in terms of yes or no. So there are only two answers for this, yes or no. So this is actually one type of asking a question. So here the data will be for either in Y, say yes, or N for no. But if we ask the okay, why here, say for example, we are considering this example. So as you have heard of that, a person who smokes have say more chances of getting infected, say for COVID-19, because of the touch to the cigarette or the, say, face area. So just we want to get some information that is there any relationship between the smokers and non-smoker patients, kind of thing. So that is actually our objective. But what questions we are asking? We are asking that, do you smoke? So the answer will be either yes or no. So this is the type of data we are getting, which I will explain it later. That is called categorical data or binary data. But if I ask the again a little bit different, that is how many times do you smoke in a week? Smoke in the last week, say for example. So if we do this survey, then we will get a different type of answer. It may be 0 for non-smoker, it may be 1, 2, or any integers. So here again, what type of data we are getting? It is again the scenario is the same, but we are getting a different kind of data. Here the values are, say, integers. Again, if I ask the questions in a different manners, that is, what is your average? That is average per day. That is average in terms of day per day, number of smokes actually. So that will be again the total number of smokes. Suppose the total number of smoke is n divided by 7. So because the last time we asked last week, so for 7 days, so this will be the answer. So since it is n by 7, so definitely the answer will be in terms of decimal, that is, it may be 3.2 or something like this. So again, the type of the value of the data we are getting is a different one. So for this is actually some sort of categorical data. For this, here we are getting integer type of data, and here we are getting some sort of continuous type of data. So that how we ask the questions, or what is our objective, what we want to study, that also affects very much regarding the our analysis using the statistical techniques. Suppose in this first case, if you ask the questions like this, do you smoke? So we don't have much options to apply the statistical techniques, because this is just the categorical data. And the next lectures you will be you will learn about the say, measure of central tendency and etc. So for this, we can only get either the mode, that is what is the maximum number of populations, either smoker or non-smoker. That is just the ratio. So we don't have much choice for analyzing such type of data. So okay, so that is the one thing. Another thing is that then level of measurement. So what is the level of measurement? So the relationship among the values that are assigned to a variable and the attributes of that variable. So that is defined as the level of measurement. So I will explain it in details with the help of example. So let us see what is the different level of measurement. So as I told, there are the types of variables. So broadly, the variables are, say the variables means actually what variables occupy, they occupy the value, and that value is our data. So our data is can be broadly categorized into two categories. That is what we call quantitative or this is the quantitative or qualitative. Qualitative data is also some sort of called categorical data, and again it has ordinal and okay. So further it has two types, and this also has two types. So I will explain in details about that. So what is the categorical data? So the first questions, that do you smoke? So that we are getting the answer in terms of either yes or no. So this type of data is example of say qualitative data. Similarly, if we list the name of all the participants, so the names are just another example of categorical data. So we can it may happen that there may be two or more than two persons with the same name, but other than that we can't do anything. Quantitative data is actually we are capable of quantifying it in terms of numbers, and not only numbers but other actually the operations on number which are also available in the case of quantitative data, like sum, subtraction, addition, average, etc. So that is basically the quantitative data. So let us see what is categorical data. So here in this case of categorical variable, scale of measurement is a set of categories. So for example, there are racial, ethnic group, as nowadays we are actually seeing the social media that Black Lives Matter. So either black, white, Hispanic, or Asian. So this actually these are just the characteristics. So if you can, so this is actually the example of categorical data. Political party, say this is in foreign, say Democratic Republic, independent kind of things. Here in BJP, Congress are. So these are categorical data. Vegetarian, yes, no, categorical data. So similarly, mental health evaluations, mild symptom information, etc. One another example of categorical data is also that of say normally what we give the feedback. So when we give feedbacks, mostly, although that is actually the say bad or good, average, good, very good, excellent. So this kind of responses, there also the data is also of the type of categorical data. Another example is actually, for example, if we say mobile number of all the participant. So although it seems that mobile number are all 10 digits number. So but with these numbers, we can neither short this mobile number, we can say this number is greater than that number of kind of things. So neither we can take the average. So that is also, although it's looking say like 98261 4321 kind of things. So although it's looking like a number, but it's exactly it is a categorical data, and so it will be assigned to a variable that will be called a categorical variable, because the arithmetic operations are not available on such kind of numbers. Similarly, the pin code, which is also numerical in actually in representations, but in nature that is actually non-linear numerical. So that is actually the type of data what is called categorical data. Quantitative data, so here we have possible values differ in magnitude, so we can quantify that. So for example, age, height, weight, these are the categorical data, and Okay, so sometimes it is also somehow possible to quantify qualitative data. For example, if suppose if we give the feedback in the scale of say 1 to 5, so then 1 is say bad and 5 say excellent, so that is actually the also some sort of quantifications. But remember, so that we can we cannot apply here actually the some kind of things, but sometimes if you see in say Amazon or in other so you can see the star value or what is the rating kind of things. So that is actually the somehow the quantification of the qualitative data, but that have their own limitations, that does not always represent the true nature, or in other words, we have to be very careful while allotting the numbers to the qualitative data. So again, let us talk about the level of measurement. So the level of measurement is here. There are 4 level of measurements. First is called nominal, second is ordinal, third is interval, and the fourth one is ratio. So what is actually the level of measurement? So the first two, so this two, that is actually for the qualitative data, and the another two, that is for the quantitative data. So what is the nominal and ordinal? So in the nominal, so it is just the name or naming. It means it is just the listing. So if we list actually the data, so that is actually the nominal kind of data. So what type of analysis we can do with the help of, so you will go through regarding the measure of central tendency, then mean, median, mode kind of things. So here we can only perform the mode for this kind of listed data. In terms of the graphical representations, I will explain it in details later. So that is what we call pie chart, etc. So we can just say the ratio, what is the ratio of different values of nominal data. So that is just what we can do with the help of nominal data. Similarly, what is ordinal data? So in ordinal data, there is one step more to the nominal data, although it does not have the true numerical value, even though we can rank it, we can arrange it in some order. As I told in the feedback example, if we try to quantify that, then the range that is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So 1 represents bad and 5 poor, and 5 represents excellent. So this is the example of say ordinal data. So because although here when we say that the value of feedback is actually 4 and another's value is 3, then we will be actually aware that this 4 has the actually the better rank as compared to the third one. So here in this case, we can arrange the data, although here also we cannot take the average of all the data. So that is actually the ordinal kind of data. So here instead of what we in terms of say measure of central tendencies, we can also perform mode here, and also we have here what we call median, that is the positional mean. So if we arrange in the increasing or decreasing order, then we can have the positional mean, what we call median, for such type of data for a large number of groups. So actually without I'm talking about this median and mode, so always remember one thing when we are speaking about statistics. So we are not going to deal about the feedback of one individual person. We are always talking about a group of data actually. So statistics is not the study about some individual, but it is always the study of a group of individual. So when we say that, so when we have a group of individual, then definitely we can try to identify the central value to compare between the two group of individual, and that is actually done with the help of some measure of central tendencies that you are going to study just after this lecture. So next one is the interval and ratio. So here the data are actually divided into equal intervals. Here also in the equal intervals. So as the name suggests, so but the only difference in the interval level data and the ratio level data is that in the interval level data, it has no absolute zero. So what is the meaning of no absolute zero? Say, for example, in a class 12th exam of say maths subject, if the score of some student is say 0, if the score of some student is say 0, so what does it mean? Does it mean that the students have zero knowledge of mathematics? The actually answer is not like that. So he knows the so he have everyone have some knowledge of say mathematics, but the getting the 0 score is actually some sort of actually it has no absolute zero meaning. So when we say that absolute zero, it means having zero means having nothing. So here in the case of 0 marks, it does not mean that having nothing. Another example is say when we say year, so we are in year 2020. So as we see that next year it will be 2021 and so on. So what about the year when the actually this AD started 0 year? So does it mean that that is actually the 0 year? There was nothing before that year? The answer is again no. So that type of data we consider in the category of interval data. Similarly, if temperature, third example is say temperature, so grade, another is say year and time, third example is temperature. So if temperature is measured in say degree centigrade, then 0 degree centigrade does not means that absence of temperature. So but if we measure the temperature in Kelvin, then 0 degree have 0 Kelvin have actually the absolute 0. So if the same quantity, that is the temperature, if you are our unit of measurement is a degree centigrade or degree Fahrenheit, then that data belongs to the interval category of data. But if you are measuring the same temperature in Kelvin unit, then the data belongs to the ratio interval. So that is actually the difference between the this interval. So for this both type of okay, nominal scale of measurement, ordinal scales, this is all we have already talked about all these things. So like high, medium, low. So okay, nominal scale. So this is unordered category, and when you say the ordinal scale, it is ordered category. Both are categorical data. Okay. So grades ABCD. So this is the final summary of a different level of measurement. So here we can see that at the bottom level, that is a nominal data. So attributes are only named. So this is the weakest one, and then attributes can be ordered. Distance is meaningful and have absolute 0. So these are the different level of data. So once we have the data level at the ratio level, that is at the top level, so we can apply all sorts of statistical techniques to that level. So as I again I will like to explain that as in the question of say a smoker, so that type of questions can also decide which type of data we are getting. So it is very important while designing an experiment or a statistical designing that we have to take care of the type of questions we are raising, or what we call the objective of the research. Only then we will have the different kind of statistical techniques available for our analysis. So this is basically the type of different level of measurements. And also nowadays, if we have very sophisticated computational tools, there are very standard softwares for getting the calculations done for us. So most of them are like SPSS, R, or even in Excel also. So the important question is actually we must understand what we are doing before using any statistical software or any statistical techniques. Because if we feed any data, regardless what is its meaning is, so the software or system will automatically gives its result. Sometimes it may be absurd or meaningless for us. So another classification is that is on the basis of discrete and continuous data. So when we call a data discrete and when we call data continuous, when we consider the data as discrete, what limitations we have? When we consider data as continuous, what extra benefits we are getting? So that we need to understand, and then accordingly we have to choose whether our data is actually a discrete data, or that is the variable is a discrete variable or a continuous variable. In simple language, discrete, it means actually the things are separated or isolated. So suppose, as I told in that questions, how many times you smoke in a week? So that is the questions. So if we ask that type of question, how many times you smoke in a week, so in the last week particularly, so that will give us the discrete data. So that is kind of things. Similarly, when the number of data is very large, that is the answer is very large, suppose so in that case we can we can consider it as a continuous data. Suppose if we are say measuring height of some plants, that we are doing some botanical experiment, and we are either measuring height or weight of some plant, if somehow manageable to measure the weight, suppose in that situations, we know that the change in height or the change in weight, that is a continuous process. It is not like that the at one time the actually the weight is say 1 kg, and all of a sudden in the next second it will be 2 kg. So if the weight changes from 1 kg to 2 kg, so it will actually occupy every numbers in between 1 to 2. That is called the whole range of 1 to 2. It will be 1.5 at some point of time. It will be 1.7 at some point of time. At the end, it will be 2 kg. So it is our limitations that we may not measure it more frequently. So that is actually the situation, so that we get the data that is looking like a discrete, but originally the main nature of the data is basically continuous data. Similarly, height. Suppose someone height is actually increased from 5 feet to say 4 feet to say 5 feet, then it takes values in between this all the values in between this 4 and 5. So that is actually the continuous variable. So what is actually continuous variable? So infinite continuum of possible values. Although due to the limitation in our observations, we will always get a finite number of observations. There is nothing like infinity in terms of say manual observations, but theoretically, if it contains infinite continuum of possible values. Suppose if we are say doing some physical experiment and we are measuring say the ampere, or so the measurement is through the some software or some device, then we can get the continuous measurement.
विषय की तो मैडम भी देखी भाई रनी मैडम थोड़ा कट मारे नहीं की खेड़ा में काय हम भी काय खालू करा.
Hello, madam, we are getting the noise from your side. Please mute yourself. Just wait, Dr. Govind.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, please continue.
How much time I have, so that I will actually make up my speed accordingly. Hello, Dr. Mathur. Hello.
Yeah.
How much time I have?
You have now. What is the time? This is 50.
It's
So
about.
You have 45 minutes, including the question answers.
Okay, fine. So that is what we call discrete and continuous variable. So if the number of data is very large, so that is actually the suppose we are calculating the values in between, that is in between 1 to 5, and the number of data is say 10,000, then definitely if we actually group it, then that can be considered as a continuous data. So that and if it is fractions, not integers, if it is fractions, then that can be considered as a continuous data kind of things. So what type of variable is, for example, there are certain questions, number of movies in this summer. So obviously the answer will be like this. So that is actually the discrete data. Favorite music type of like rock, jazz, folk, classical. So this is actually the another example. So the answer must be categorical data. Happiness, very happy, pretty happy, not too happy. So again, this is categorical data, but this is actually the ordinal one. So we have talked about the quantitative or categorical, qualitative and categorical data, nominal, ordinal, interval scale, continuous, and discrete level of data. So when we design any statistical design for some research objective, so there are two category of actually experiment study. One is experimental study, another is observational study. So what do we mean by experimental studies? So in the case of experimental studies, so we impose certain experimental conditions. So on a certain restricted conditions, we perform experiment, and then we get the data that is called the experimental. So subject should be assigned at random to the condition, what we call. Okay. Similarly, what is the observational data? So the simplest example of observational data is sample surveys. So here we only observe subjects without any experiment or manipulations. So in some sense, the observational studies, you can say from the data collection point of view, it is just one way. Actually, we are just the observing as a mute spectator without interfering with the system. While in the experimental studies, we first impose conditions on the system, and after that, we get the observation data. So for example, in say science experiment, we can set some temperature, pressure kind of things, and we do perform some chemical reaction. So these are the actually conditions we are imposing to the experiment, and from then we are getting the data. So okay. So as I told, in the inferential statistics, what we do sample survey. We collect data from the sample, we analyze those data collected from the sample, and then we interpret those data for the population. So sample people from a population, and we interview them. So general society survey or any kind of survey, so that is of this category. Experimental, so compare responses of subject under different conditions with subject assigned to the conditions, for example, does aspirin reduce chance of heart attack? So this is actually the questions we want to answer. So this is actually our research objective. So this is aspirin is a one kind of drug. So the question is, does it reduce, if some takes the medicines aspirin, does it reduce the chances of heart attacks? So how we can get the data for such a research problem? So broadly what we will do, so we will bifurcate the populations into two groups, one group having the aspirin and another group having not aspirin, and both the groups are suffering from some sort of say heart disease. And with the passage of time, we will observe what are the number of heart attacks in these two groups, and then we can derive some results that whether the intake of aspirin really affects the occurrence of heart disease or not. So that actually we needed to decide while doing some study. So similarly, there is another techniques for collecting data. So the collection of data is very much important because in the case of say randomizations. So what is randomization? That is it should be unbiased sometimes of So when we collect data, we want to say something about the whole population. So we have to choose the sample very wisely, what we call unbiased. So that is done through the some randomizations. That is a random process. So okay, so you will get in more details about this term. So just okay. So the next thing is that once we have the research objective, we have properly defined the research objective, and then we have collected the data. So then the next thing before actually the exactly analyzing the data is to have some glimpses of the kind of nature or some quantity of data, so in the form of representations. So this representation of data can be of both type, or one we call say tabular representations, or in the representation in terms of the class intervals, or also in terms of the what we call graphical representations. So how to interpret findings so that we know what data is telling us about the sampled populations. So that is the question. So once we have the data, how to describe that? So one way is a graphical presentation of data. So in this graphical presentation of data, what we usually do, we use initial exploratory data analysis techniques to produce a pictorial representation of the data. So there may be various, what is the benefit of graphical presentation of data? Sometimes just if we look at the numbers, so the numbers are large, so it is almost impossible to have any even the guess about the nature of the sampled data. But if we represent it graphically, then maybe we have some idea how the trend of the data is, how actually it is spreaded, is it skewed or not, it is symmetric or not, or we can suppose we have the data for two groups, then with the help of graphical representation, we can compare one group of data with the other group of data without performing actual statistical analysis. So that is the benefit of graphical representation of data. So resulting displays reveals patterns of behavior of the variables being studied. The method used is determined by the type of data. Again, this is important. What is the type of data and the idea to be presented, what we want to present from that data. So these are the two. So the first type of graphical representation is actually the circle graph and the bar graph. So circle graph sometimes is also called pie diagram. So what is basically the pie diagram or circle diagram? So the whole complete circle or this area represents the whole populations, and then so the amount of data that belongs to each category as a proportional part of circle. So each category. So definitely this type of graphical representation, or what we call the pie diagram, this is useful in the case of either categorical data or in the case of variable whose data values are say finite. So that type of data can be represented, categorical data can be represented with the help of circular graph in terms of pie diagram, and similarly that can also be represented with the help of bar graph. So this bar graph show the amount of data that belongs to each category. So actually the data corresponding and its corresponding frequency or the proportionally sized rectangular area. So let us see how it is done. For example, suppose we have here an example of there is a list. So the table lists the number of automobiles sold last week by day for a local dealership. So describe the data using a circle graph and a bar graph. So which type of data we have? We are actually the number sold. So we have 7 different days starting from Monday to 6 days, Saturday, and these are the number of automobiles that are sold in a particular day. So here, so this is basically what is our data value basically. So we are considering the data in terms of the so here one day is actually the categorical. So this list name of days, these are the categorical data, and this is corresponding frequency. So on Monday, there 15 automobiles have been sold, so and so on. So we will the total of this, so that is will be the total number of data. So we represent it by capital N, and then we can have the percentage of each of these. So just by dividing 15 by N, so this will be the ratio, and if we multiply it by 100, then we will get the uh, number of that is actually the automobile sold on Monday in percentage in a whole complete week. So let us see how it is. So this is the typical example of our pie diagram. Or what we call the circle graph solutions. So basically, since we are having here 6 days, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So the 6 reasons, 6 categories are there, and each categories have their own area they are taking. So from here, you can see that on Wednesday and on Saturday, we are having the larger area, and that is due to on Wednesday. So here and on Saturday, we are having the more number of cells. So this area is basically the according to the data value. Similarly, if we if we represent it in terms of say bar graph, so here on the x-axis we have the categorical data, and here on the y-axis we have the frequency, and on Monday we have the frequency 15, on Tuesday we have frequency between 20 to 25, and so on, beyond having the highest frequency on Saturday, that is 45. So this is actually the representation of data. So as compared to this numerical representation, this representation is quite easy to understand regarding the nature of data. Another is the Pareto diagram. So this Pareto diagram, that is again a bar graph first of all, but here it is arranged from the most numerous category to the least numerous category. So the highest frequency, the category with highest frequency is placed first, and then the next highest, and so on. So it includes a line graph displaying the cumulative percentage and counts the bar. So there are certain nodes. So this Pareto diagram is used to identify the number and type of defects and that happen with the product or services. This is one of the applications because we get both the extreme. So here on left hand side, that will be the category with the highest frequency, and on the right most we will have the category with the lowest frequency. So this extreme category might be useful for our research or our analysis. So this we can get from the Pareto diagram, and we can generate all this diagram very quickly with the help of any statistical software. So this is another example. So in the final daily inspection defect report for a cabinet manufacturer is given in the this table. So these are the type of defects. So there are various type of defects like dent, strand, chip, scratch, and others. So and these are the number of defects. So this is the daily inspections in on a particular day. So this is the number of defects. So with the help of say Pareto diagram, so we can easily analyze which type of defects are actually the most commonly occurring and which types of defects are least commonly occurring. So that we can do with the help of so that is the daily defect inspection report in the terms of Pareto graph. So here blemish, this is actually having the highest frequency, that is a 43 count is 43, its percentage is 31.9, and so on, and the least one is the dent, and which have the count only 5, as the relative percentage is 3.7. So the production line, so based on this graphical representations, the production line should try to eliminate blemishes and scratches. So these are the two types of defects actually that cut out the defects by more than 50%. Both of this blemish and scratch consist of nearly 61%, more than 50%, 61.5% of the total defects. So the production line must focus on these two types of defects. So that is some sort of the analysis or some simple observations from the direct graphical representation of the data. Again, when we have the quantitative data, so the quantitative data is in terms of numbers. So one of the reason for constructing the graph of here, the graph of quantitative data is to examine its distributions. So what does it mean by distributions? So suppose the graph of quantitative data is something like this. So what is here? We have the mean value 0. So what here we have? So here on the x-axis we have the data value. On the y-axis we have its corresponding frequency. So if the graph is like this, then we know that the middle value of the data, they are actually most likely the frequency is highest, and the outliers, that is the lower or the upper portion of the data, that is actually their frequency is very low. So one common example is some sort of we can say the average income of an whole populations. So here this is the middle, we can say the middle class. So this is the persons who are very financially poor, and this is the richer one. So that type of representations we can get it from the graphical representation of quantitative data. Sometimes if it is something like this, so it means that it is a skewed and lower tail is among the right hand side and so on. So that is the basically the benefit of representing a quantitative data with the help of this graph. And this is a technical term, distributions. In coming sessions, you would learn more details about these distributions. This is basically the pattern of variability displayed by the data of a variable, and so that is the frequency of each of the variable. So here on the y-axis there will be the frequency. Similarly, there is one more plot, what we call the dot plot, and this dot plot is very easy. It is either horizontal or vertical line, and the frequency of the values is represented along the other scale. So a random sample of the lifetime in years of 50 home washing machines is given below. So we have total sample sizes of 50. So if we observe 50 washing machines, and this is the average, that is actually the lifetime in years of each of the 50 washing machines. So just looking from this numerical data, it is very hard to say anything, to derive any conclusion. But if we arrange this numerical data in a proper way, then we can have kind of informations from this. So suppose, so this is our scale. This is our scale. So the values are, the least value is say 0, and the highest value is in between somewhere below 20, that is 21.8 here. So corresponding to this scale, one dot is placed if we find a particular data. So for example, we take the first data 2.5, then 2.5 is somewhere here. So let us say we put, this is the data corresponding to 2.5 and so on. So we put dot. So from this graphical representations, now we can see that majority of the washing machines have the lifetime actually in this range. So there are very few washing machines whose have lifetime in years, that is greater than 8 years. So there are very few among the 50. So that type of information we can get from the dot plot without interpreting or without applying any statistical techniques. So this is actually the benefit of representing the data. Stem and leaf display, that is also one type of display here. So okay. So as the name suggests, what does it mean by stem and leaf? So there will be some stem and the rest will be the live. So let us explain with the help of some example. So suppose a city police officer using radar checked the speed of cars as they were traveling down the main street in the town. Construct a stream and leaf plot for this data, and we'll try to know what conclusion we get from the graphical representation of this data. So all the speeds are in the 10 second, 20 second, 30 second, 40 second, and 50 second, and so on. So this first digit of, so in the range of, say, all the data are of 2-digit data, and so the least value of data is I think 16, and so the highest value of data is somewhere 55. So how we can plot a stem and leaf plot? So this is basically the stem. So this one is stem. What does this stem stands for? This is actually the I mean second digit. So for example, in the case of say 16, so the stem is 1 and the leaf is 6. So here, since all the data are in the range of 10 to 50, so the stem are 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That is okay. So that is the second positions. And for data 16, so one leaf is 6. For data 19, another leaf is 9. Similarly, another data is, if the data is 24, then the stem is 2 and the leaf is 6, and so on. So this is actually called what we call stem leaf plots, and clearly from this we can see that the highest frequency is in the range of 30, between 30 to 40. So this is 31, 32, 33, up to 39, and so on. So what is actually the conclusion from this stem leaf graph? So if you look at this bare data, then it is very hard to get any conclusion. But if you see this stem graph, then what the speeds are centered around the 30s. So that is the conclusion. So the average speed are in between 30 to 40, and there are very few cars having the speed greater than 40. There are very few having the speed less than 30. So that is actually the benefit of such type of. Okay. So what are the drawbacks? So the drawbacks is actually it can only be applied in the case of say integer value. It is only desirable in the case of say limited number of data. If the number of data is very large, then it is not a good way of representing the data. So what are the other benefits? It can be used for comparing the two distributions side by side. So it can be very big, it can grow very big and very fast. So this is not a very good type of graphical representations for the data. So we need some other techniques, and another techniques is then frequency distributions and histograms. So what is frequency distributions? As the name suggests, distributions means data together with their frequency. So this collection is actually called frequency distributions. So frequency distributions. A listing often expressed in chart from that pairs each value of a variable with its frequency. Either sometimes it is placed vertically or horizontally. So that is actually the frequency distribution. Ungrouped frequency distributions, each value of x is in the distribution stands alone, like 2, 5. So this is actually the ungrouped distributions. Grouped frequency distributions. So if the data actually x is say 1 to 10, 10 to 20 kind of things, then that is actually the grouped frequency distributions. So that is the most popular way of representing the data in tabular form. This is not the graphical form, using the frequency distributions. So there are certain guidelines regarding the construction of frequency distributions. So that is, all classes should be of the same width. Classes should be set up so that they do not overlap, and so that each piece of data belongs to exactly one class, like this. Okay. So procedure. So we find the range for each of the class constructing a frequency distribution. The range is the highest value of data minus lowest value of data. So definitely we are doing these frequency distributions corresponding to the quantitative kind of data. So one typical example is this. The Hemoglobin test, a blood test given to a diabetic during their periodic checkups, indicates the level of control of blood sugar during the past 2 and 3 months. The data is table below was obtained for 40 different diabetics at a university clinic that treats diabetic patients. So this is just the hemoglobin test. So this is the level of hemoglobin in the given units. So for the 40 different patients. So the sample size is here 40. So how to do that? So we can construct a grouped frequency distribution using the classes. So we can club the classes taking the hemoglobin level in the interval of one level, that is the 3.7 to less than 4.7. So here we are not including the 4.7. The second interval will be 4.7 to less than 5.7 and so on. So we are not including the upper hand, but at the last we can use that. So this is actually the kind of how we design the class, which class has the highest frequency. So that we have to tell it the frequency. For example, 3.7 to 4.7. If you look at the data, then between 2.7 to 4.7 you have only one single value that is actually that occurs in between that value. So where is that? That is the 4.0. So that's why its corresponding frequency is 1 and so on. So this is the frequency. We can also have the relative frequency. What is relative frequency? So if the sum of the frequency is capital N, then the relative frequency is f by n. And a cumulative relative frequency we are adding, so the total sum is 1. Midpoint, what is the midpoint? 3.7 and 4.7. So here the midpoint is 4.2. So if we take this as xi and the corresponding frequency, then this is the discrete version of data, discrete. And if we take this x as interval, then this is the class interval representation of the same data. So it is advisable that the maximum size of class interval must be in between 10 to 15 and so on. But due to the use of say softwares, we can have any size of class interval. So that is actually not a very big task if we are performing with the help of softwares. Histogram, that is again a bar graph representing the frequency distributions of quantitative variable. Histogram is made of the following component: title, which identified the population of interest, vertical scale, which is frequencies, horizontal scale, which is the value of the variable x. And values for the class boundaries or class midpoints may be labeled along the x-axis. So let us see with the help of example. Sometimes you can also use the relative frequency in place of frequency. So this is just the diagram corresponding to the same hemoglobin test problems. So here we have the first interval with the midpoint 4.2, that is actually in between 3.7 to less than 4.7, having the frequency 1, and the highest frequencies is for the interval 4.7 to the 6.7, and the mid value is 6.2. So this is actually the bar diagram. This is actually the histogram, what we call, corresponding to the frequency distribution. Similarly, another example, their age of the nuns in a Roman Catholic are summarized with their frequency. So the total number of girls. Okay. So this is age up to 20 to 30. The total number of nuns is 34. In the range of age group of 40 to 50, like this. So that is actually the frequency, and so this is the corresponding histogram. The terms used to describe the histograms. So based on this histogram, what are the benefits of these histograms? So you can see if you join it through smooth curve, so it is a little bit left skew. It is not symmetric. So you can see from the histograms whether the frequencies are symmetric or not. It is whether uniform or not. It is skewed. Skewed means some tailed like kind of thing. Uniform means it is a constant. J-shaped bimodal. Bimodal means actually having two peaks kind of things. If the frequency is like this, or the normal. This is the normal curve. So that is actually the various conclusions we can get from the histogram. So since we have not formally defined the mode is actually the value that having the highest frequency. So that the frequency bimodal and so on. So okay. Another thing is cumulative frequency distribution. That is the same. Instead of frequency, we apply the cumulative frequency. So that is this is the example of a okay. Next is the last one is the OGIV, a line graph of cumulative frequency or cumulative relative frequency distributions. So earlier it was a bar graph, now it is a line graph. So a vertical scale which identifies the cumulative frequencies, and horizontal line identify the upper class boundaries. So that is actually the OGIV. So let us understand with the help of example. So this is the here the this is the upper value of the class interval and their corresponding frequencies. They are the dots, and we are joining this with the help of say line segment. So this type of graph is called OGIV. So definitely it is left skewed, and so it is not symmetric. So that informations we can have from this. There are certain more representation also some called box plot kind of things. So box plot is basically a kind of representation of the data like this, where maximum value, minimum value, medium, first quartile, third quartile. I am not included here because right now you have not gone through the this median mode kind of thing. So this is the maximum value, this is the least value. So these are the representation of the in short, actually it is very important to understand the nature of data, which type of data we are actually handling, what study we want to do, what is our objective or purpose of the research. Accordingly we will take the type of data for our so thank you. So this is from the my side. So any questions from the audience? We have approximately 15 minutes, so we can have this session for questions. Dr. Mathur. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Okay.
Okay.
Sir, may I ask one question, sir?
Yeah, please.
Sir, please explain the cumulative frequency once more.
Oh, sure. So what is cumulative frequencies? Say, for example, okay. Just I have to go on to presentation. So here, what is cumulative? So the word cumulative stands for, I mean, say, for example, suppose we are having a feedback. So feedback is ranked, say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1 is poor, 5 is excellent. Suppose there are, say, 20 participants. So suppose we get 2, 3, 8, 10. I think it is better. Okay. So how much? 20, 23. So let us say 7. So the total number of participants is, let us say, 30. So this is the value of data x. This is their corresponding frequency fi. So what is cumulative frequency? That is fi is first we arrange the data in either increasing or decreasing order. So it is already arranged according to their ordinal data. So cumulative frequency will be then. So first is 2, that is just the f1. Then next will be 2 plus 3. So that is 2 plus 3, that is 5. So this is basically the sum of first two frequencies and so on. So the last frequency will be f1 plus f2 up to f5, and this will be equal to 30, that is total number of frequencies. So this is called cumulative frequency. Is it clear?
Sir, is this specific for the ordinal data?
No, it is for any data which have frequency. So this
So,
is the property associated with the frequency. It has nothing to do with the data.
okay. So, why do we use this? मतलब ये हम लोग कब use करेंगे?
Okay, there are certain things which you will going to study in the next lecture. For example, let me say median. As I was saying in this box plot, so median is used. What is the median? Median is actually the middle value. It is middle not in terms of the I mean the value, but in terms of order. For example, let me take one example. Suppose if you want to say calculate the per capita income of the citizens of Mumbai, fine. So the question is to calculate the per capita income of population people of Mumbai, which type of statistical techniques we will use? What we will use? Either mean or median. So let me explain. So if we take mean, then what will be the how we will calculate? So we will total, that is actually the total income divided by total number of people. So that is the average income. Fine. Are you getting this? So
Yes, sir.
Sir, I have
okay,
one question, sir.
Okay.
Am I audible?
Yes. Let me complete this one. Just half a minute. So, but what will happen? Suppose if we include in this, say, Mukesh Ambani's property. Okay, so he's among the top 5 richest persons in the world. Then what will happen? So the actually average income will go very high, which actually the representation is not good, because a common man in the Mumbai is not earning that much. So to exclude that outlier, so this mean is not a good representation in that case. So what we can choose? We can choose median. So what is the median? So median is basically the middle income. So we arrange the data in the order of increasing income, and the middle value is the median. So that will represent the per capita income of, say, common Mumbai man. Yes, next question, please.
Sir, first of all, I would like to thank you for your such a wonderful deliberation and such informative session. Sir, my question
Thank
is, what is the basic difference between a variable and a parameter?
Variable and a
Basic
parameter.
difference between variable and parameter.
Parameter. Okay, fine. So
Yes, sir. Yes.
what is a variable and what is a parameter? Okay, fine. So suppose in the same situations, which the example we were interested in calculating the average income of an individual in the Mumbai city. So here, what will be the variable x? X is actually the income. Suppose there are let us say 2 crore populations. I don't have exact figure. So we will have 2 crores of data with the variable. What is this? Let us say income in rupees. So this is actually the variable. Values of variable will be, there will be, if 2 crore people are there, then 2 crore values of variables will be there. What is the parameter? Parameter is basically, so that is the central value or central value of population. Central value of populations means, if you want to say that what is the average average income of Mumbai, citizen of Mumbai, then that is basically the parameter. So parameter is just a constant which is estimated from either from the sample or from the population, and variable is just the variable. So with the help of these variables, we determine the value of parameter. Is that clear? So suppose if you calculate mean, so arithmetic mean, so that is the fi xi upon summation fi. So this xi is a variable, and this x bar, that is mean, this is the parameter. Is that clear?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Any more questions, please?
Sir, good afternoon, sir. This is Mrs. Bhuneshwari, sir.
Hello, sir.
Yes. Just
sir.
okay, madam, one by one. I think okay.
Yes, sir. Can I ask you, sir, now?
Yeah. Sure. Hello.
Sir, I
sir.
need to ask you whether a stream and leaf plot can be diagrammatically represented.
Which plot? Pardon.
stem and leaf plot.
Stem
can be
and leaf plot.
Yeah. Can it be
There is
diagrammatically represented?
that is some sort of what we are doing here. This is the stem. So we represent this 1, 2 kind of things, and the second, third digit. So we just suppose the data are of 3 digits, say 128, 127 kind of things. Then our stem will be of 2 digits, say 12, 13. Anyway, like I mean 10, 20, 30 kind of thing. Then one last digit will be the stem. So suppose if you want to plot this in the graphical way, then what we have, the dot plot is just some sort of another representation of the stem plot. So here in the dot plot, it is not exactly same as the stem plot. So we are corresponding to say 128. So in correspond, there will be one dot above just the value 128.
Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay, next question, please.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Hello, sir. Am I
Please
audible,
ask,
sir?
please ask. Yes, yes, please ask.
Sir, when do you use modal value?
Yes.
When do you use, sir, modal value? Modal value.
Model. What do you mean by model actually here? So everything what we
Modal
do.
value means mode.
So okay, mod. So
Mode.
fine. As I told in the case of say categorical data. So what is the only available statistical techniques we have is just we can calculate the mod. Fine. So that is the scenario. So that depends upon the different situations, in which situations actually which type of the central tendencies will be used. So that depends upon the scenario. For example, what we can say that okay. There are so many examples, but preferably, mostly if the your data is symmetric, then the mean, median, and mode they will coincide at one place, and there might be unimodal or many modal kind of things also.
Hello.
Hello. Okay, madam. Please ask.
Hello.
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 Yes, you are audible. Please ask.
Is experimental study and observation study equivalent, sir?
Please ask again.
Experimental studies and observation studies are equivalent, sir?
No, they are not equivalent. In observational study, we do not impose any condition or any restrictions on the candidates. Suppose in the survey also, suppose if you are doing a random survey, I mean we are choosing the persons randomly, then that is a observational study. But if we are choosing the persons for survey specifically, we are imposing some condition, then that is the same survey is actually the experimental study. Suppose if we are just say taking survey of doctors regarding the COVID-19, so then that is actually we are not talking to common person. So that is we have imposed some condition. So that is actually the experimental study. That is not, although we are just asking the survey kind of questions from the doctors. So that will be the experimental study.
Thank you, sir.
So when we say experimental, it means we are imposing some conditions.
Okay. Sir, hello, sir. Hello.
Hello.
Sir.
Hello. Yes.
Hello,
Yes.
sir.
Yes, please ask.
Sir, for the calculation of average income, why do you use arithmetic mean instead of mode? Sir, I am giving an example. Suppose Anil Ambani has the per month income 1 lakh, whereas I have the per month income 1,000. Sir, if we use here arithmetic mean, then the average income will be 50,500. But it is not realistic, sir. Sir, if we use mode value here, then we will know that mode lies in highest frequency. If we use mode value, sir, then it will be more realistic, na, sir? Sir, do you agree with me?
No, actually, let me answer in 2 steps. First of all, I also said the same thing what you are telling, that we should not take the mean as the average. I didn't take mode. Actually, initially I talked about mean. But mean is actually, since as I told that if we add the income of Mukesh Ambani, then it will be not a good estimate. So median is better than mode. I can show you through example. For example, suppose your curve is like this. Okay, mode is somewhere here. So mode is also preferable sometimes, but in practice, what the average income is always a normal distributions. Mostly, it is always bell set if we talk in particular. So mostly the average income is actually this is the some sort of mean, median, or both kind of things. Here we okay. So average is not a good that is actually the status parameter. Median is better than mode.
Good evening, sir.
Sir,
I am
I
Sita
have a
Lakshmi
question. Sir,
from
sir.
Tamil Nadu.
Hello.
Excuse me, sir.
One at a time, please. Yes, yes, please.
Excuse me, sir. Good evening, sir. I am
Good
Sita
evening.
Lakshmi from Tamil Nadu. And can you give one real life situation for geometric mean and harmonic mean, sir?
Geometric mean and
Geometric mean
harmonic.
and harmonic mean. Because we are using ordinary mean for every situations. Can you explain any real life situation for geometric mean and harmonic mean?
I will not answer it completely because actually I think that is the top of the next lectures, but I can give you a hint here. So when we say geometric, because the measure of central tendency is that I think just after this session, so you will get details about that. But when we calculate the geometric mean, so that is in terms of say we are just multiplying the things and getting the root. So that is the one situation. In harmonic means say average speed kind of things. So in that situations we apply harmonic mean. So that's it. Right now I have to say. Actually, I will not intervene on the topic of the next speakers.
Okay, sir.
Hello.
Thank you.
Hello. Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir. Hello. Hello.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
I am Surendra Bag. I have a question. That what is the basic difference between histogram and frequency frequency bar?
Okay. Frequency bar is basically when we say that the histogram. So histogram is basically the that is for the class intervals, and the intervals. So the beginning of actually they are adjacent. I mean, so end of the one class interval is say for example 20. Then the beginning of the next class interval will be from the 20 itself. So that is at the difference. That is in the what you told, the frequency polygon is just the data. It may be for discrete variables also, but the histogram is the when we have the continuous overlapping of the data values are there, then we call that histogram.
Thank you, sir.
Next question,
Hello.
please. Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello. I'm
Yes, please
Suresh Kumar. Sir, hello.
Yes, please ask.
Sir, I am Suresh Kumar Thakur from Chhattisgarh. Actually, I want to know, sir, is there any tools or software that is useful to draw stem and leaf plot and Pareto diagram?
Yeah, definitely. There are so many softwares, and if you talk in terms of okay, do you have any more? I mean, the part of your question.
Sir.
Okay. Let me answer. So there are so many softwares available. So among the free softwares, I will prefer say R, programming in R. So that is actually nowadays very commonly used software, and in that software we have lots of built-in functions. So in the next week there will be dedicated session for you all participants R with the R softwares, and actually that is supposed to be in your schedule. So I think that is a little bit in the beginning. If you are not familiar with the programming, then you may find it a little bit difficult because that is not actually the that is a command line kind of a programming language, not very user friendly, just like Excel. But you can do all those things with the help of R programming language.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Sir, I have a question.
Okay, please ask.
Sir, how can we calculate the mean value from a distribution which is bimodal? Which is
bimodal.
Bimodal distribution.
And how to calculate the mean?
Mean, yes.
That is quite simple, because when we talk about the mean, then we have nothing to do with the mode, actually, what we call bimodal, what you're talking about bimodal. So your graph will be something like this. So here we have two mode values. So one here, another here. So just mean will be, if it's a discrete data, then it will be simply by this actually formula. So this will be the mean. If it is continuous data, then also we use the same formula. Here in that situation, it becomes the midterm of the interval. So in that sense, there is no relation, direct correlations between the this bimodal or mean.
Okay.
Although there is some empirical formula between the mid, median, and mode.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, Dr. Govind, thank you very much for delivering nice talk, and the talk was very informative, and lots of questions has been asked by the participants, and definitely the successfully answered. Now I would like to invite Dr. Amit Kumar As to deliver the vote of thanks. Dr. Amit Kumar?
Yes.
Please propose the vote of thanks for Dr. Govind Prasad Sahu.
No, I am not doctor. Amit Kumar As bolo.
Okay, it's fine, sir. You will be doctors after some time, no problem.
Okay. I thanks Dr. Govind Prasad Sahu. He definitely delivered the topic, the statistical variables. Govind Prasad Saha, they explained the topic, statistical variables. I, the Amit Kumar As, on the behalf of the all participants, thanks, Dr. Govind Prasad Saha. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Amit. Thank you, Dr. Mathur, and thank you, HIDC Central University Sagar, and thank you all the participants for your presence. And so you can contact me through my mail ID if you need further. Okay, so thank you everyone.